What is going on? Welcome back to the CryptoLabs YouTube channel. My name is Colin Mason, and today I'm going to be answering a question that I received from a client in our Fast Track program who joined us about 2 weeks ago, and he raised his hand on the open office hour call, and he said, I'm ready to ask my first question. He said, I've been kind of soaking up the conversations and learning more about this space, and he said, I want to kind of preface this by saying I'm pretty green, I'm pretty new to this space, and that he bought a little Bitcoin, bought a little ETH, opened up a test liquidity pool, and was really trying to figure out what his next steps were. He's basically like, Colin, I love this. I'm soaking up everything. I'm really excited about the next steps, but I don't know where I should start deploying capital into. And I thought it was a great question, and I thought, I think the YouTube community would benefit from this answer as well. So first thing I did was I showed him kind of my system. I was like, we're not going to get in the weeds. All I'm going to want you to do is zoom out and just kind of get a look for it. This is what you're going to be building over the next several months with us, right? But we're not going to try to build out all of the pieces of the puzzle here. As you'll notice, there's like 10 boxes that are on the surrounding, the perimeter, if you will, that I have my strategies in the middle. You are not going to build all of this in the next 20 minutes as I'm working with you. But what you are going to do is you're going to get a really good grasp on the different vehicles that are available to you. Because when you're ready to deploy capital, you really have to figure out what are your goals, what are you trying to achieve, and then just reverse engineer that to find out what strategy or what vehicle in the DeFi space allows you to achieve that mission. And so what I was kind of talking, I said, okay, this is my system. It's big. It's not complex. It's rather simple actually, but there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of different pieces. Let's simplify it. And so I basically showed him this, and I basically said, okay, this is what we're going to look at from the start, because if we can master this concept, then we can scale the operation. And what I love about DeFi is how scalable the system is, right? And so if you were to set a really solid foundation, learn how to manage, learn how to actually interact with these different platforms, and then how to set up strategies that help you achieve your goal and your mission, again, it's very scalable from there. You just add more capital, right? Now, that's not to say that there's no conversations around diversification and concentration risk. There's, of course, those conversations. But as you're starting to deploy your first $1,000, your first $2,000, your first $5,000 worth of capital, it really comes down to this foundational step. And that's what I want to talk about here. Okay, so when we're injecting new capital, which means you take from your fiat account, you open up a Coinbase or a Binance or a Kraken, and you on-ramp some fiat into USDC, or you buy your first crypto asset, you really have to start to think about, what am I trying to achieve with this capital, right? What job am I giving this new capital? And you really have to be clear and very precise with it. And what I mean by that is that if we were to on-ramp, let's take a big amount, right? Or biggest relative, I guess. But let's say $100,000, right? If I were to on-ramp $100,000 from fiat into crypto, and I were to just kind of place it in random places, right? In fact, I'm writing a mindset article as well as a part of our end-of-week report inside the UIG all about this concept, which is most people, not in the UIG and not here on the YouTube channel, but most people in this crypto space are gamblers. And what I mean by gamblers is not that they are degenerates, right? It is just that they are making bets. They are placing bets without a thesis, without a goal backed behind it. And so what we're doing when we're injecting new capital is we need to get extremely clear with what does this capital need us to do. So like I said, if you were to take $100,000 and just place random bets, and you were to just kind of walk around the crypto casino in these DeFi casinos, analogy, casinos, and just place them in random places, some will win, for sure, right? Some will be successful, but most are going to lose, right? That's just the reality of it, especially when you're investing or you're just kind of betting without a thesis. And so what I was working with this client on is, what are your goals? What are you actually trying to achieve? And then let's make sure when we inject new capital into our portfolios, that job that we are assigning for that capital is helping us achieve the mission. So I basically asked him straight up, and that's why I wanted to bring this up, is what's your goal? What are you trying to achieve? Are you a long-term investor and you're trying to position yourself in coins and tokens that you believe is going to appreciate long-term? Are you a more shorter, maybe mid-term type swing trader where you're trying to get in and out of coins and tokens, kind of getting in and out of trades? And trades doesn't necessarily need to mean you need to get in and out of in one day, right? We're not talking day trading here. We're talking swing trades. Are you wanting to get into something and out of something within a few weeks or within a few months? If that's the case, then you're kind of in a different category, right? We have kind of long-term investors where we're thinking, okay, I want to be in position for the next decade, right? I want to be in position with coins and tokens that will be market leaders for the next 5 to 10 to 20 years, right? That's one bucket. The other bucket is what I just mentioned in terms of the swing trader, right? You're getting in, you're buying an asset, you're getting into position, and you are, getting into position and you're holding that position for several weeks or several months and then exiting with the intention of locking in profits, right? That for me is like a swing trader, if you will. Okay. That's the other bucket. And then the third one is like cash flow, right? I'm looking to produce cash flow. I am looking to inject new capital into my system, and I would like new capital to be extracted from that system. And where we can extract that capital, that earned capital, the revenue, the income that we're generating from these platforms, is we can then take it and we can put that into other buckets, right? So we can have our cash flow vehicles fund our swing trading bucket or our bull run bag. We can have the cash flow generated from these vehicles fund what I call a treasury or a long-term investment hold, right? There's plenty of different approaches as well as different combinations that you can do. But I was basically asking this client, like, what are you trying to do? Are you in kind of bucket A, where you're a long-term investor, just trying to get in a position? Are you bucket B, where you're looking to get in a position and take profits in the next couple weeks or months? Or are you more focused on cash flow? And again, cash flow can be used for roughly anything, right? Depending on what your goals are. And he said kind of, one in three. He's like, the first bucket for sure. I'm a long-term investor. I just want to be in position for the next several years. I want to buy and hold and build a nice treasury. But then I also want cash flow. I want to be able to extract cash flow to help fund bucket A and the first bucket, and which I love. And that's exactly what my mission is as well. And so, long intro, if you will. Now, when we're looking at this chart here, it's very, very simple. So I said, you can take a look at mine. If we were to zoom out, this is my system. It's rather, again, it's simple, but it looks complicated. There's a lot going on. For you as a gentleman, for you, sir, this is all about starting with confidence, right? Have a thesis. Invest in your first coin or token that you believe is going to appreciate long term. If you are in bucket A and you are trying to build a treasury, and you are in bucket C, third bucket, right, where you're trying to produce cash flow, the two best vehicles for us to do those two things is a liquidity pool for cash flow. So liquidity pools are great for bucket 3. And then bucket A is holding spot. The best way to see price appreciation is to be in spot exposure or single asset exposure. So that's buying and holding and storing it in a cold storage wallet, right? Or if you're wanting to generate some income from it, not a lot, but generate a few percentage points per year on said asset, we can lend it. I like lending it because it's a little bit more liquid. When we go into staking and liquid staking, there's just other third-party things that we need to be aware of, a little bit more risk. Not that there's no risk with lending. Of course, there's a third-party risk with that. I just don't like lockup periods, and some staking protocols have a lockup period, where lending, it's rather liquid. You can kind of get in and out whenever you'd like to. And so when I'm working with this gentleman, he basically said, I want spot exposure, I want to build a treasury, and I want to produce cash flow. And so I said, your next homework is to establish which coin and token you want to start with. I don't give financial advice. Of course, I don't give financial advice, but I said, for me, I would stick with one of the blue chips. I'm talking Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana. You can kind of extend yourself out a little bit more if you want to, but I would really stick with those 3 to 4 assets on the top that are really kind of prevalent in the DeFi space. And so he was like, ETH, I think I would like to start with ETH. I said ETH's a great one to start with, especially for liquidity pools. You have a nice, really consistent cash flow that can be generated from liquidity pools. And so I said, your next mission over the next couple of days is to deploy test amounts of capital into buying spot ETH and lending it. I said on Aave, again, not financial advice, but I did say, lend a couple dollars worth of ETH on Aave. You can always scale up from there, but that gives you great spot exposure while earning a % or two, on that asset, which again is the first part of some other strategies that we have inside the UIG. So that was the first thing I said. And then the second thing I said is you're going to on-ramp a little bit more capital, and you're going to deploy that directly into a liquidity pool that is great for cash flow. And so, again, not financial advice, of course, on this channel. What I did was run him through an exercise, which I hope you got value from, which is figure out what your goals are. What bucket do you see yourself in? Are you a long-term investor? Are you a swing trader where you're building a bull run bag and want to exit at some point? Or are you a cash flow investor? Or are you a combination of those three? And then position your strategies and your positions accordingly. So like to summarize, he said cash flow and he said spot hold, price appreciation. So lending this asset is great for price appreciation and long-term holding, and the other one is great for cash flow. He, I hope, has executed on that advice and has deployed very small test amounts of capital, and then he can scale from there. I really hope this brought you some value. If you have any questions or you're looking to see any kind of further content on this channel, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments below. And thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.